Hi, ever wonder what it's like to work another profession or live in the underworld? Listen to unsuspecting riders give a 10 to 15 minute personal masterclass as I spontaneously interview them as they enter my taxi. I'm your host, Simon Rushton, and this is Taxi Chronicles. Morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we've got Bob. You know what that means. There's anonymous time. And he's in the pharmaceutical business. And also he had some problems with his car. So he might share that story as well. Anyway, nice to have you here today, Bob.
Thanks.
Okay, so tell us about your car quickly.
What's the problem with the car? I had a nightmare with these all new Mercedes, you see. Had my keys stuck in the ignition and it's not moving. Car's been dead overnight, so I'm here, dedicated to football early in the morning.
Okay. So how did you get it stuck, by the way?
So literally dropped a friend the night before, was all fine, and then literally on the way back tried to stop off in a petrol station, and obviously, as you know, to switch the car off, fill up the tank, noticed that the key wasn't removing from the ignition. Fortunately for me, I was able to turn it half off to be able to fill up the tank and not get stuck in the petrol station, and then I was able to drive it back. Fortunately for me, where I live, I've got a secure car park, so I was able to just park it there. But this morning, car's dead.
I will add, his secure parking is in a very fancy part of town. So, Bob, what kind of person were you when you were at school?
Oh, you know what? I would say very, very popular individual. Good family, good background, raised well. Was very much in the top sets in pretty much the majority of classes apart from science. I just hated science, which is funny because we'll get onto what I do now, but that's predominantly the field that I work in. But maths, business studies, economics, English, those were my really strong points growing up.
A star.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you was a cool kid.
Cool kid as well. Loved football, loved sports, tennis.
Did you go to a state school or public school?
I went to a public school.
Oh, okay. So that's you in pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So, quick question: would you put your children in this public school? Costs a lot of money.
It does cost a lot of money, but I'm a firm believer that if you have the right upbringing, the right teaching, the right grounding, public or state school with the right focus, you can definitely make it, is my thought process. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely pros and cons with both, but I think it starts from the home.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, yeah.
So when did you realise you wanted to be in the pharmaceutical business?
Oh, to be honest with you, I didn't. It was never a defined career progression for me, really, actually. Like most young kids, irrespective of your ethnicity, I think you either want to be into music, or you want to be into football, or some sort of thing. And really, growing up at 14, 15, 16, 17, I don't really think most people really know what they want to... Well, actually, don't get me wrong, some people definitely know from young what they want to go into, but most people, from my experience, don't really know what they're going into. I think about my peers at the moment, and a lot of them that went to university studying whatever it may be, psychology, economics, law, business studies, very few of them are working in the field that they went on to go and study. So for me, I actually started off in sales. Back then, started off in sales, and in anything, whichever industry you work in, it's all about networking for me personally. And through networking is kind of how I met some big CEOs, and fortunately for me at the time, I was able to build a rapport, and they gave me a defined pathway into the field that I work in now.
Okay, that's good. So your route of education was did your GCSEs, then you did, was it A-levels?
Yep.
And what A-levels did you do?
So I did maths, economics, business studies, and physical education.
Oh, 4?
Yeah.
Around, right? Well, did you get A's in all of them?
Oh, no, you know what? So actually, the transition from GCSE to A-levels was a very big drop, actually, for me. And I wouldn't put it down to anything other than myself, really. Kind of moved district, if you will, from where I went to school from into a brand new area, met brand new friends, different circles, and kind of just picked up bad habits. And as a result, education became like a back burner for me. So what was a promising young kid who was destined for great things, I suddenly didn't tailed off and didn't go down the route that was planned for me from A-levels. So to answer your question, yeah, A-star student, A-star at GCSE, but then A-levels dropped to like C's and D's, which for me was disappointing.
Okay, and then what made you, it sound like you just mixed with council estate people. What was that catalyst that made you want to get your ass in gear again?
You know what, it was going into work and just, you know, one of the questions you asked about, what made me get into the field, it was being at that point, going from jobs like Carphone Warehouse, Argos, Tesco, whatever it may be, and look, everyone's got to eat, right? But for me at that age, just thinking about, how am I going to own a car? How am I going to build a family? How am I going to do X, Y, and Z based on this money? I just didn't see it happening. And I think back then I was on 13,000 a year, which was 850, 900, I think, after tax. And yeah, I just didn't see how anything was going to happen from it. Yeah, it was good, great. Probably amongst my peers at the time, probably had the most money, but it didn't really go far, really. If you wanted trainers, you know how much normal trainers are now.
120 or something.
Right, so by the time you buy a few of those, you want to go out and eat, and your phone bill and whatever else, it's all gone. So that was my experience. So very quickly from there, I thought, you know what, I need to find a new way out.
Yeah, I hear you. So, when you got into the industry, how did you find it? Was it easy working in the pharmaceuticals?
So a lot of people, actually, I don't know anyone else in my industry that works. Well, actually, let's just put it this way: there's hardly any black males, and not even just that, black sisters in the industry, to be fair. And I'm under 30, so even more so when I go to workshops, conferences, travel abroad, I'm a very, very small group, and very, very much stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, you got dreads as well, innit?
Yeah, so I very much stand out, but it's
But you know your stuff, I take it.
I know my stuff, and I'm very confident in myself. So, and you know what, I'm in it. It's a very, very well paid job. I can't lie. Fortunately for me, or unfortunately, whichever you want to look at it, I've been stuck in London for COVID, just like most people have. But prior to that, for those that know me, I'm very rarely in the country. Pre-COVID, probably every 4 weeks I was probably abroad, 2.5, 3 weeks out of every 4 weeks in a month. So this is the last 12 months for me has been a real eye-opener, changer in many aspects, just been stuck in one place for so long. So
in your industry, your pharmaceutical industry, what is your actual role? What do you do?
Oh, good question. So I'm a director for a clinical research artificial intelligence company.
Drop the mic! Whoa, I need to have a bell or something. Heavyweight. Okay, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I'm a director. Bloody hell, man. How long did it take you to get to that position?
So I've been in the industry for next year will be 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, so really had to...
So wait a minute, you were how old?
So I'm 29.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got in
Very young.
very, very, very young, actually. When I say industry, kind of petered around it. So really, in the company that I've been at now, I've been there for 5.5, 6 years. So really worked my way up, really, from the ground. So yeah, it's good, can't complain. It is stressful, but that's why I get paid the big bucks, but still.
So your job is to promote the drug, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. So specifically within the industry that I work in, I work in the clinical research part of pharmaceutical development. So what that means for anyone listening is, if we used a very relevant case of COVID at the moment, one of the big discussion points has been how fast a lot of these pharmaceutical companies have been able to make the drugs so fast, because as many people know, to have a drug approved, it has to go through various phases of testing and approvals. So you have phase one, first of all you have the testing in animals, and then once it goes through that, you have the first part, which is phase one. And phase one is basically a small population, which could be 10, 15 individuals of a specific ethnic background. Let's just say black for the purposes of this, and let's say we're trialing the drug specifically in Nigeria. So the pharmaceutical company will trial it in 15 people, black in Nigeria. Based on that, they look for a certain percentage of efficacy being proven that it's of a certain success rate, whichever that is defined in the synopsis. And then upon that, the next stage is phase two. Phase two would be increased. So maybe now we're going to look at a bigger population of maybe 60, 70 individuals. Maybe we're going to increase the ethnicity, and then also maybe we now want to do it in Nigeria, Jamaica, Ghana. And then upon the same process again, you then get to phase three, which phase three is, okay, we want to do it in 500, 600 people across Europe, across Australia.
Every time you're testing, how long is that period you're testing for and waiting for results? Yeah,
good question. So each phase could be, so phase one, because it's so small, as I mentioned, like 10 to 15 people, for example, in this example we've used in just Nigeria, we wanted, it could be 6 months, 6 to 9 months, just for phase one.
Yeah.
Then as you increase the phases, it can get longer, so 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You get some longer studies as well, but typically
there was 7 to 10 is the average.
Yeah, we could go up to 10 years, depending on the drug and the therapeutic area. So after that, then obviously once the pharmaceutical company has like a real deluge, a real catalogue of a wide variation of people they've tested it in, they then go and seek approval for the drug. And in the US, we have a governing body. In the UK and Europe, we have a governing body. And then whichever one you get approval first is where you then trial to get your drug sold in the likes of Boots and subscribed by GPs and so on and so forth. And I work for a clinical research company that helps with randomization in that clinical trial process. And for those that don't know, randomization is basically eliminating bias. So how do we know that Bob, Philip, John, James from Stratford or Lewisham or Peckham or East Ham is not taking part in that clinical study? Eliminating their names, eliminating the bias to make sure that it's fair. So I work for a randomization technology company that does that in clinical research. And then the other side to it is also part of that technology also manages with inventory management. So what that basically means is automatically tracking where the drug is anywhere in the world and alerting sites and hospitals for when they need to restock.
So the big question is here, based on the way this latest drugs have been pushed through, or vaccines, do you have confidence? Because it sounds like they jumped quite a lot of loopholes. A lot.
Yeah. So what a lot of people don't know is that so there's so many different. So right now, I think in the UK we have 4 approved drugs. So Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and I forget the other one now. But we have 4 in the US. I think they have 3 or so. But then just through the industry that I work in, I know that there's a multitude of other companies that are a lot further down the line but don't have it approved. For example, we have Johnson & Johnson, who should be coming out with a drug hopefully towards the back end of this year, maybe early next year, where you only need
talcum powder people. Hey,
where
are you gonna trust them?
Well, that's the thing. Where they only have you only need 1 shot of the jab, and as you know, one of the things as well that was in consideration for many of the other vaccines was the temperature that the drug needed to be stored at. Some needed to be stored at various freezing temperatures and so on and so forth. But anyway, to answer your question, a lot of these pharmaceutical companies already had similar vaccines or drugs which could be manipulated to treat other indications. So basically what they've done is, it's not like they've started from scratch. They've basically taken existing drugs, existing processes, manipulated successful drugs for maybe treating cancer, diabetes, flu, whatever it may be, and simply just changed the encodes, if you will, just to keep it basic.
But that will still need a testing period.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Just done the same way.
Yeah, definitely. And
there's a bit of an element of gambling.
Yes, yeah, that is definitely the case. And what a lot of these companies did is they skipped out. Remember, I told you there's the typical. There's the animal. Then there's phase 1. There's phase 2. A lot of these companies maybe started straight from phase 2. And then phase 3.
I knew I shouldn't be taking it. That's why I ain't taking no thing. Go on.
So a lot of it wasn't. It was definitely fast tracked. It was definitely fast tracked.
We're not trying to jeopardize your position or your job. I understand you. So have you taken a vaccine?
No, me personally, I haven't taken a vaccine.
Like one of these many medical staff who will not take it.
No, you know what? For me personally, my parents are both over 60 and have both taken the vaccine. Fortunately for me, I have a sibling who is a medical doctor as well, trained. So I definitely have the right advice around me internally. I just think for me, as I mentioned, being under 30, the infection rates for us are significantly really, really low for the under 30s, especially if you're in good health, no underlying health conditions. Your chances, even if you do catch it, are very minimal that they will lead to death. So me personally, just a personal choice, I have just decided, no, for me, I don't want to take it. So.
As the doctor said to me one time, out of every 100 people who get it, the 4 who die are the ones who always have underlying sicknesses. And I suppose there's a big difference between getting it and dying from it in that respect.
Yeah.
Last 2 questions. We're coming to the end of the journey. Sorry. First of all, what have you learned that you wish you knew when you'd started?
What, in the industry or in life in general?
In the industry.
In the industry. I would say what I've learned in general, for me personally, is I wish I learned a trade, learned a skill that would allow me to work for myself. And if I be more specific about that, I'm under 30. I earn over 6 figures a year. I'm, some will say, amongst my peers in a really good position. But really, I still have to get up on Monday morning. I still have to report to someone, and I have flexibility with my working hours. I'm not stuck at a desk from 8 to 6, but it's just the whole, for me personally, answering, reporting into someone, for me personally, is not something that
You want to be your own?
Yeah, just be my own, really. Yeah, I get paid whatever I get paid at the end of the month, but unfortunately for me, I have I've got other things that I invest in, but I just don't see in this modern society how you can just rely on one income.
I understand that.
So I would say if I could have, learned a trade, that would have meant that I'm my own boss.
Okay. And the last question is, what's the impact you want to have on the world?
A lasting legacy he remembered something, is what I would say.
Well, I'll remember you after this interview. You confirm my suspicions. But thanks a lot.
No
Great
worries.
interview, and
My
we
pleasure.
wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
We hope you liked that interview. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to get the latest daily episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economy and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources? Then listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you will hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m.